Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. This is Tim, and today we're going to be talking about bone broth. So stay tuned.
Hi, this is Tim and Joel. Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
a podcast about the outdoors, hunting,
and being a steward of the land.
Hey, if you like what these two dumbasses are doing, please hit the like button and subscribe today.
Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. Today we're talking about bone broth. Lots of reasons to look at bone broth. As some of you have been following us along, I went moose hunting this fall, and I was fortunate to harvest a moose. And I'd had all these bones that I had been sitting on that I knew I was going to do something with. And I've been hanging on to them. Actually, I was going to do this roasted bone marrow. I don't know if any of you have ever had that, but it's delicious. But due to some freezer constraints, what I've decided to do is I'm just going to make some bone broth out of it. So let me just first tell you, hey, bone broth is super duper good for you. But before that, I mean, hey, one of the key things is hey, it allows us to utilize much more of the animal that you harvested, whether it be a turkey, a deer, a moose, what have you, and because you can make bone broth out of any of that. Some people suggest drinking this daily. We're going to use this, actually, as our family, we're going to use it for stock. So we use it for stock, for gravies, for sauces, for soups, etc., and that's how we're going to leverage it. But a little bit more to the health benefits. The health benefits, and I went out and did a little research here. Bone broth contains tons of minerals, enzymes, vitamins. It's great for joint health, digestive system, inflammation, and it's also weight loss friendly for those of you that are interested in that. But we're gonna go ahead and start this, and the first step in doing this is you have to roast the bones. So that's where we're going to head to first, and stay tuned. So first thing is, you can see I have all these bones that I'd wrapped up and then frozen, and you see I've got meat on them, etc. Super important to make sure that your bones have some meat so it still has some flavor. I'm usually trying to be very judicious in that, and going forward I'm going to leave always a little bit more meat on it to add flavor to the broth. You'll see I've got a lot of water here in the sink, so I use a Sawzall to help cut these bones. And a lot of people say, hey, you should use a really fine saw. I actually use a wood saw blade. Works super great in cutting up these bones. What I find is those fine tooth saws always get bound up, and then once it's bound up with all that bone meal, it doesn't do a good job of cutting. So that's what we're going to do next. Is we're going to drain this. I've washed all these tools with soap and water and disinfected them, so it should be great. And again, more to come on that. Got these bones all cut up. The next step is recommended is hey, soak them for about 30 minutes in a salt brine. And so what I'm using for a salt is just kind of a basic generic sea salt. But soak these in here for 30 minutes, and we're not going to lose much, and it's going to clean these up. And then you see we've got a few more over there, so we're going to have to do this in batches. But Joel and I are proud owners of these Kamado Joes. So we are going to, well, let me take a step back. We also, if you look down in there, I've got some lump charcoal going, and this is from those of you guys who follow us. Joel made some homemade lump charcoal, so we've got that going on in here. And what we're going to do next is we're going to roast
those bones to get a little char on them, put a little extra flavor on them before we start our bone broth. Alright, so our next step is we're going to put these bones, I've got the fire going nice, and again I'm just trying to put just a little bit of char and some smoke on here. I'll slow this way down to about 225, 250 degrees. What I've put is I put some seasoning. A lot of people put salt and pepper on these bones. I'm a big fan of this farm dust. You can find that it's an Amish seasoning. You put it on anything. So that's what we do. So this is the next step. So these have been roasting for about 45 minutes. We're going to now take these off and start to put them in a big pot to make our bone broth. Alright, so we've got all these bones in, and so what we're going to do is put enough water to cover all of the bones. And then we're going to throw in some spices. Alright, so what you see here is I've got the bones covered in water. I've got probably 10 plus pounds of bones here, so put that as perspective. I threw in about 5 bay leaves, a tablespoon of garlic, some thyme, some parsley, and I'm going to put some celery, a few stalks of celery and carrots in there, and then we're going to let it do its thing. But this is going to boil for probably, or simmer, for about 24 hours. Alright, so this has been cooking for about 16 hours, maybe a little longer than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually remove the bones, and we're going to strain out all of the additives and the fats, etc. And then what we're going to do is just bring this to a rolling boil, and we're going to can it and use it for stock later. Herbert's eating the spoils from our bone broth. He likes it. So we have double strained this, so we've gotten all the big particles and then all the little particles out. So now what we're going to do is heat this up so that we can can it and use it for later. So this is a finished product of the bone broth. We got 7.5 pints. So I had a little bit left over, and so I thought I'd put it in a jar and let it set up and let you see what it looks like. And it's really a gelatinous material, and that's from the gelatin being boiled out from all the bones, the bone marrow, etc. from our boiling down process. So when you see that, that's going to look pretty normal. You're going to see a little bit of grease that will settle on top. Normally what I do before I would jar that is I would let it set up, scrape all that off, and then can it so you wouldn't get all that grease in here. But this little bit I have left, I kind of saved for the dog, so it's too little to do anything with. So he gets a little bit of treat, and it's great for his joint health. So this is Tim from Midwest Hunting and Outdoors. So just wrapping up this podcast episode about trying to make your own bone broth. Takes a little bit of time to do it, but you're doing justice by the animal by using all the parts that you can from a bone broth perspective. Key learnings, making sure that you leave a little meat on those bones so it adds more flavor to the bone broth. And lastly, just the nutritional benefits that it provides for you. Strongly recommend that. So until next time, be safe, have fun, and get outdoors.
Thanks for listening or watching our show. We have some exciting topics and guests coming up.
We ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We look forward to hearing your suggestions for topics,
Questions and comments. This is Two Dumbasses signing off. Until next time,
be safe,
have fun, and get
outdoors.
outdoors.